guy, a classic car restorer, saw the live streams from my fiancée's Vegas bachelorette party, kissing multiple strangers while wearing her bride-to-be sash. I didn't yell. I silently canceled the $10,000 wedding, changed the locks, and had her belongings moved before she landed. She thought it was just Vegas. I made it a financial and social disaster. I'm Adam, 29, and I work in automotive restoration in Cleveland. I entered this trade at 19, starting from the most basic oil changes in a small shop. With time and a lot of effort, I advanced to having my own business specializing in classic American cars from the 60s and 70s, Chevelle, Mustangs, Camaros, and similar models. It's not glamorous work, but when you know what you're doing and love every detail, it's truly worth it. I started earning barely $9 an hour. Every free minute was spent observing and learning from the older mechanics who understood real engines. I saved every penny. I lived in a tiny studio, sharing the space with 2 roommates. My dinners were cheap ramen or peanut butter sandwiches. At 22, I managed to move to a restoration shop as an apprentice. The owner, Hank, an old-school mechanic who had been rebuilding classics since the 70s, became my mentor. He not only taught me the technical side, but also how to run a business with seriousness and respect. 5 years ago, Hank decided to retire. He sold me his client list and some of the equipment at a price I could cover. He said I had earned it for being the first apprentice in 20 years who showed up early, followed through, and worked with true dedication. Thanks to that client list, my shop was able to take off. Today, there are only 3 of us on the team, but we have constant work. There is something incredible about taking a rusty shell and bringing it back to life. A few weeks ago, we finished a '69 Camaro SS that had been abandoned in a barn for 3 decades. 8 months of work, hundreds of hours, thousands of parts adjusted. When we started the restored engine for the first time, the client couldn't contain his tears. Those moments make every sleepless night and every banged knuckle worth it. I live in a simple 2-bedroom house that I bought 3 years ago when prices dropped a bit. Nothing luxurious, but it's mine. About 100 Metzthers, a detached garage, and a fenced yard, perfect for my dog Milo, a German Shepherd mix I adopted 4 years ago. The monthly payment is low, and that gives me peace of mind even when business slows down. My father, Robert, always told me that a man should have his foundation solid before building anything else. He was a lathe operator for 35 years in the same factory. He went in at 6 a.m., left at 2:30 p.m., and never missed a day except for family emergencies. His example taught me that financial independence is not measured by what you earn, but by what you can actually sustain without falling into impossible debts. He told me how his brother, Uncle Mark, lost everything during a divorce in the 90s. The house, the savings, even his truck. He ended up living with his parents again at 45. From that, I learned to protect myself. Marissa, my then fiancée, was 27. We'd been together for 3 years and engaged for 7 months. We met at a car show where she was helping a friend who was showing a Corvette. She was very attractive, always well-groomed, with a confidence that drew attention. We connected quickly. The first coffee turned into 4 hours of talk. The second date ended in my truck at 2 in the morning because neither of us wanted to say goodbye. Marissa worked as a regional coordinator for a cosmetics company. Her job involved managing events and digital campaigns. That's why she was always glued to her phone and uploaded absolutely everything to social media. At first, I found it endearing. Photos together at dinners, short trips, casual moments. I thought it showed she was proud of our relationship. Her work trips were frequent: Columbus, Cincinnati, sometimes Chicago. She would come back telling anecdotes about the chaos of the events. I valued her effort, and with her salary about $52,000 a year, we lived comfortably combining our incomes. But looking back, there were signs I missed. It bothered her when I stayed late at the shop, as if I preferred old cars to our relationship, ignoring that those cars paid for the expensive restaurants where she wanted to dine. She criticized my friends because they liked watching football or playing video games. She called my best friend David's apartment a man cave for having a big screen and consoles. David, a pipe welder with zero tolerance for nonsense, never trusted her. After meeting her, he told me, Notice that she doesn't talk to other people the same way she talks to you. And he was right. With me, she was kind, but with others, she could be snippy or condescending. I made excuses, believing she just had bad days. The wedding was about 6 weeks away. We had already paid for everything. $4,500 for the remodeled barn Marissa wanted for the ceremony, $3,200 for the catering for 150 people, $1,800 for the photographer, and $5,600 for the premium drink package and poolside bar resort in Cancun for the honeymoon, because, according to her, it was the necessary minimum. I thought everything was on track, and then came that cursed trip to Las Vegas. Her friends started uploading stories, videos, live streams. At first, I thought I would just see Marissa dancing or laughing, but within seconds, images appeared where she was seen kissing different guys in crowded clubs. One grabbed her waist, another pulled her in to dance, and in all the videos, she responded as if she were single. The worst was one where she was literally sitting on a stranger's lap while her friends shouted that, "Marissa's still got it." I froze. Then came the decision. No shouting, no drama, no second thoughts. I called the event venue. Canceled. I called the vendors. Canceled. I sent emails. Called the resort. I eliminated every trace of the wedding, everything except the emotional damage. By the time Marissa landed, her fiancé no longer existed, the wedding did not exist, and every excuse she tried to give sounded more absurd than the last. The dress and invitations were covered by Marissa's parents, but everything else fell on me. From the beginning, when I suggested splitting expenses, she told me that tradition dictated that the groom's family should handle most of the wedding budget. I didn't argue. My parents, Robert and my mother, wanted to contribute, but I assured them I could handle it alone. I had an almost childlike desire to prove I could take charge, something that I now understand cost me about $15,000 in total, a lesson I learned the hard way. Marissa had moved into my house 8 months before the engagement. We agreed to split utilities and groceries, but the mortgage was entirely mine. I bought the property long before meeting her, and always followed Robert's firm advice. Never put anyone on your deed until after you're married, and even then, think carefully. I had seen too many stories of men who lost their homes because of partners who had contributed nothing more than conflict. I didn't want to be one of them. There was another important detail: Marissa's car. She drove a Honda CR-V that practically lived at the shop. A year after we started dating, the transmission died completely. She was stranded on the highway. She had to call for assistance, and the repair cost was $4,200, more than the vehicle itself was worth, which could be sold for $3,500 at best. Repairing it was absurd, but financing another car was impossible because her credit was shot, maxed out cards, late payments, and a history no bank wanted to touch. She herself told me at the start of the relationship that she wasn't good with money. She carried debt from college and her first working years. When she tried to get a loan for another vehicle, the best offer she received was a 19% APR, something that would end up costing her almost double the vehicle's real value over the life of the loan. I didn't want her driving an unsafe car, so I bought a used Toyota RAV4 in perfect condition with 48,000 miles. I bought it for $18,500, financed by my credit union at 3.5% interest. Everything, title, insurance, and loan, remained exclusively in my name. She paid me $320 a month, but legally, the vehicle was mine. I had my reasons. My father's brother, Uncle Mark, made the mistake of co-signing his ex's car. When they broke up, she stopped paying, and his credit was destroyed. He had to pay off a huge debt for a vehicle he never used and took years to recover. I wasn't going to repeat his misfortune. Marissa sometimes complained that the car wasn't truly hers, and I always replied the same way. When your credit improves, we'll refinance it in your name. She never did. She kept spending on makeup, clothes, and trips with friends instead of focusing on the debts. And while it bothered me, I understood that was a problem she had to solve, not me. The Las Vegas situation started without drama. The maid of honor, Selena, had been organizing the bachelorette party for months. A long weekend at the MGM Grand, 6 friends, personalized shirts, a carefully planned itinerary, pools, clubs, bars, and the whole Vegas experience they sell on social media. While they prepared for that trip, the guys already had my bachelor party planned for 2 weeks later, a quiet fishing trip to Michigan. Nothing extravagant, just David, my brother Gabriel, Hank, Milo, some friends, and me, renting a cabin, spending time on the lake, and disconnecting from the pre-wedding chaos. Marissa constantly repeated how boring our plans sounded compared to her party weekend, but it didn't affect me. Everyone enjoys different things. She sought lights and loud music. I preferred fishing and tranquility. I dropped her off at the airport on a Thursday morning. She was ecstatic. She talked non-stop about the bars, concerts, meals, and spa treatments. She carried 2 giant suitcases for a 4-day trip. She had 4 different outfits for each night, several swimsuits, spa clothes, and shoes for every occasion. The logistics were ridiculous. Before she went in, she gave me a quick kiss and said, laughing, "Don't worry. What happens in Vegas stays in Vegas." She tossed it off like a joke, but today I understand I should have taken it as the warning it was. That same night, I was still working at the shop, adjusting the panels of a '67 Mustang Fastback whose former owner had ruined in a DIY restoration attempt. Around 8 p.m., David arrived with a pizza. We were going to watch the game, a regular Thursday. While we talked, he checked his phone and suddenly stopped. "Hey, your fiancé's friends are uploading everything." "Sure, that's what they went for," I replied, ignoring it. "No, crazy. I mean, they're uploading everything. Look." He showed me Selena's stories, all from the hotel room, loud music, saving energy for the night. Marissa was wearing a bride-to-be sash and a plastic tiara. It all looked standard. "Nothing weird," I said, returning to my slice. "Keep watching. They've uploaded about 15 more videos." As the game progressed, I looked at each update. Fancy dinners, expensive bottles, group photos, fluorescent drinks, dancing at a club with a DJ and lights, still within the usual for a bachelorette party. But on Friday morning, new videos began to appear. They were at a pool party in one of those huge pools at the most expensive hotels. Maybe the Encore or the Wynn, sun, electronic music, crowds, floaties, VIP tables. The first videos that started circulating seemed like simple clips of a group of friends enjoying a trip to Las Vegas. They all appeared in bikinis next to the cabana they had rented near the pool, posing with frozen drink cups and expensive bottles served directly by the staff. There was laughter, loud music in the background, and that party energy you feel when people go to Vegas with the fixed idea of losing control. But the more I analyzed the videos, the clearer it became that something wasn't right. It wasn't the party that bothered me, or that Marissa was having fun. What was unsettling was how she repeatedly appeared accompanied by men who were not part of the group. There were unknown hands offering her drinks, faces leaning in too close, whispers, gestures that crossed a line no engaged couple should take lightly. David, who was watching the clips with me, immediately noticed my expression. "Bro, is everything okay?" he asked with a mix of disbelief and concern. "Yeah, well, I don't know. She seems delighted to be getting attention from guys she doesn't know," I replied, trying to sound calm. "It's Vegas, man. People go crazy there," he said, shrugging as if it were normal. I tried to convince myself that maybe he was right, that perhaps I was overreacting because seeing her like that caught me by surprise. But that excuse evaporated as soon as the Friday night content arrived. Around 11 p.m., Selena posted a video from a club so packed you could barely see the floor. The music was a mix of violent bass that made the screen vibrate, strobe lights, shouting, raised glasses, and that feeling of chaos where no one thinks twice before acting. The video started focusing on the girls, dancing together near the bar with the typical euphoria of someone who had lost track of time. And suddenly the camera focused directly on Marissa. She was dancing pressed against a guy who had the whole Lives for Wild Weekends look. Sleeveless shirt, backward cap, tribal tattoos covering his arms. It wasn't a casual dance or a simple friendly exchange. They were fused, their bodies practically pressed together, and as I watched them move, the guy leaned toward her and kissed her. Not a quick kiss, not an accidental brush, a long, clear, intense kiss. and she returned it without hesitation. I felt my stomach clench. The image of my fiancée literally wearing the bride-to-be sash, kissing a stranger in front of hundreds of people in a club, was stuck in my mind like a direct punch. It wasn't a rumor. It wasn't a misunderstanding. It was a fact recorded in HD by one of her own friends. And the worst part is, it didn't end there. The video continued. She pulled away only to take a shot, raised the glass as if to toast her own betrayal, drank it, laughed, and kissed him again. Meanwhile, the guy's hands were moving lower and lower, and Marissa did nothing to stop him. David was watching his phone with the same mix of surprise and anger as me. "Brother, that's nasty," he muttered quietly. I remained silent. I didn't even know what to say. I just kept checking the rest of the content they themselves had left public on social media. There was a video where a man was hugging her waist at a blackjack table while she pretended to help him decide what card to ask for. Another showed her dancing between two guys, intentionally moving to grab their attention while Selena recorded, laughing. Yet another showed several men trying to impress her while she chatted with them, encouraging the situation as if she were single. The texts accompanying the videos left no room for interpretation. What happens in Vegas? The bride's last wild nights? Living the last freedom before the ring? Vegas rules. No rules. And the comments from known people worsened the mix. She sure knows how to have fun. Isn't she getting married in a few weeks? Wow, this looks bad. Adam, has he seen this? I saved everything. Absolutely everything. Every clip, every photo, every comment. I took screenshots, downloaded the videos, organized the evidence into folders, and uploaded everything to the cloud just in case. I didn't want to leave any window open for someone to say I was exaggerating or misinterpreting. The evidence was irrefutable. Marissa, the woman I was going to marry, was cheating on me repeatedly, celebrated by those who were supposed to be her friends. David was still in disbelief. "What are you going to do?" he asked, still holding his phone. "I need to think," I replied, although in reality, my mind was already making decisions. I returned home in silence, trying to breathe normally. My dog ran up to me, tail wagging, oblivious to everything. I sat with him on the back porch. The breeze was light, and the sky was starting to cloud over as if even the weather was accompanying the disaster. Part of me wanted to call her, yell at her, tell her I had seen everything. But another part, the one I inherited from my father Robert, knew that reacting in anger is signing your own mistake sentence. The correct decisions are made with a cold head, I kept repeating to myself. In that forced calm, I opened my laptop and began to dismantle what was left of our wedding. First, I drafted the email to cancel the venue. The coordinator was kind, but the contract was clear. The $4,500 deposit was non-refundable. Then I wrote to the catering service. They also did not offer refunds. Another $3,200 was gone. The photographer, fortunately, was more human, although she retained half the deposit as a rescheduling fee, $900 lost. She was kind enough to offer the date to another couple. Next, I called the honeymoon resort. A woman answered with a tired tone, as if she had heard the same story too many times. "Sir, you are the third groom this month canceling for something similar. I'm very sorry." I had to pay $100 in penalties, but recovered the rest. I took the time to check the entire expense spreadsheet. DJ, cake, flowers, transportation, decoration, live music. Every vendor received their respective cancellation. Some allowed for partial recovery, most did not. When I finished, it was almost 2 a.m. The silence of the house felt heavy, but also liberating. I had destroyed our wedding before she destroyed my life. The total lost amounted to about $9,800. A hard hit, but preferable to the emotional and financial cost of marrying someone who disrespected me publicly. At dawn, I called my father. I woke him up, but he didn't complain. "Son, what happened?" he said, with that deep voice he always uses to try to maintain serenity. I explained everything step by step. The trip, the videos, the kisses, the guys, the comments, the public humiliation. I sent him the evidence while we spoke. There was a long silence, so long I thought the call had dropped. You canceled last night? Yes. How much did you lose? About 10,000. Son, I swear it's the best investment you'll ever make. The house is yours. She's not on the papers. The car is the same. Good. Your Uncle Mark would have told you exactly what I'm telling you. Cut everything off immediately. Don't negotiate with someone who doesn't respect you. She arrives tomorrow. Call me when she gets here. And one more thing. Change the locks today. Don't wait. I followed his advice. I hired a locksmith that same afternoon. We changed the front, back, and garage locks and reprogrammed the electronic keypad. While he worked, I gathered all of Marissa's things, her clothes, perfumes, makeup, toiletries, notebooks, laptop, the books she had brought, the decorations she had put in the living room, even the pillows she insisted on buying. As I put each item into boxes, I felt a stage closing that I never imagined would end in such a cold and calculated way, but so necessary. I wasn't throwing anything away or destroying it. I was simply removing everything she had once brought into the house from my life. In the morning, David showed up to help me. We loaded all the boxes into my truck. After closing the tailgate of the pickup, we drove directly to the storage unit I had rented that same morning. It cost me $50 for the first month, almost nothing considering the peace of mind it would give me. We unloaded every box into the small storage space. I took photos of everything, making sure there was a record that her belongings were in perfect condition. When I closed the padlock, I felt like I was taking a definitive step away from the disaster. "You're going all in," David commented as we returned to the truck. "She's the one who set everything on fire first," I replied. "I'm just picking up the pieces." Sunday dawned with more new social media posts. I saw them while drinking coffee. The girls had gone out for brunch. Mimosas everywhere. Tired smiles. That too-long party look. Even with sunglasses, it was evident that Marissa was hungover. Someone had tagged the location, a restaurant inside Caesar's Palace. Still in Las Vegas, enjoying a weekend that seemed endless to them, while for me it had stopped being fun much earlier. That same morning, I published only one thing on my social media. Nothing dramatic, nothing emotional. A brief direct message. The wedding scheduled for October 23rd is canceled. Guests will be contacted individually. Thank you for your understanding. I added no explanations or hints, just facts. To avoid misunderstandings, I tagged Marissa in the post. It was enough for my phone to explode within minutes. Calls from my parents, messages from Gabriel, confused relatives, friends asking for explanations. I ignored almost everything and sent a general message to the family group. It's long to explain. I'm fine. I made the right decision. We'll talk later. Meanwhile, Marissa's group of friends, where I obviously wasn't but received information through acquaintances, erupted. Several friends who hadn't gone to Las Vegas started demanding explanations. Selena tried to control the narrative, but she couldn't compete with the public posts that anyone could see. The videos began to circulate like gasoline spilled on a bonfire, in chats, groups, screenshots sent from one phone to another. Sides were formed, questions were raised, and before the morning was over, the situation was already a social inferno. Hours later, the group returned to the airport and posted their photos before boarding. They all looked exhausted, as if the party had aged each of them 10 years in one weekend. Marissa in particular was clearly facing reality, her screen on, eyes red, compulsively checking her cell phone. I later learned that during her layover in Phoenix, she called me 17 times. I didn't answer any. I just watched my screen light up repeatedly while I worked on the Mustang I had pending at the shop. I focused on anything other than her name appearing once more. In the middle of my workday, I received an unexpected call. Laura, Marissa's mother. I let it ring until the voicemail activated, but she insisted. She called again and again, finally leaving a voicemail with that motherly tone that clings to an idealized version of her daughter. "Adam, I don't know what's going on," she said. "Marissa says you canceled the wedding. Please call me. This must be a misunderstanding. She would never hurt you. She loves you very much. Whatever it is, we can fix it. I just want you to talk to me." I'm still surprised how she could say that with such conviction. Laura had always defended Marissa, even when it was evident that her own daughter was her worst enemy. For her, Marissa was incapable of making real mistakes. Even if she accumulated debts, lost jobs due to a bad attitude, or turned every problem into someone else's fault, her blindness was not new. It was just reaching a new level. At 8 p.m., I heard a car park in my driveway. I checked the security camera I had installed that very week. It was Selena's car, and to my surprise, all the girls were crammed inside with their luggage still in the trunk, as if they had just landed and come straight from the airport. The banging on my door started instantly. "Adam, open up, we need to talk." I opened it, but left the security chain on. Through the small opening, I saw Marissa with smeared makeup, the bride-to-be sash still on from the flight, and a plastic tiara twisted like a tragic symbol of something that no longer existed. "Why aren't you answering?" she questioned, agitated. "What does what you posted mean? How is the wedding canceled?" "That's exactly what it means. It's canceled." "You can't just cancel our wedding," she gasped, almost indignant. "I can do it when my fiancée spends her bachelorette party kissing strangers, several of them, record it on video and posts it on the internet." Her face lost all color. Behind her, her friends started looking at the ground in uncomfortable silence. No one defended Marissa. No one feigned surprise. They all knew exactly what I was talking about. "Those videos don't show what really happened," she tried. "They show exactly what happened. They are your videos, your posts, your stories celebrating it." "It was Las Vegas," she stammered. "It didn't mean anything. Everyone does things like that at bachelorette parties." "No, not everyone does it, and those who do don't upload it for their fiancé to see." She tried to push the door, but the chain stopped her dead. "Let me in. This is my house too." "No," I replied without raising my voice. "This is my house. Your name does not appear on any document. It never has. You lived here as a guest, and that invitation has ended." "But my things, my clothes, everything!" "It's all in the storage unit I rented, Unit 147 on Cedera Avenue. Here is the key." I passed the key through the crack in the door. "You have 30 days to retrieve it. After that, it will be auctioned off." "You can't do this to me." "I live here." "You stayed here. It's not the same. You have no legal rights to this property." Selena stepped forward, this time trying to mediate now that she understood the consequences were serious. "Adam, please, you're overreacting. She just had some fun in Las Vegas. That's what that place is for." "Fun is going to a casino or seeing a show," I replied. "What I saw on your Instagram, Selena, was my fiancé kissing other men while you recorded and laughed. That's not fun. It's betrayal, and you shared it with half the world." Another girl spoke from the back. I vaguely recognized her. Miriam, I think. "We didn't think he would see those stories." The rawness of those words struck me in a way I hadn't expected. There was no hesitation, no elaborate excuses. They knew exactly what they had done was unacceptable. They weren't confused girls or people who had lost control by accident. They simply convinced themselves that no one would find out. They trusted that I wouldn't see the posts, wouldn't check anything, wouldn't ask questions, or that even if I found out, I would keep quiet, swallowing everything so as not to ruin the wedding. But they were wrong about absolutely everything. I had seen them. The evidence was clear, public, and available for anyone to see. And now, Marissa would have to explain to her parents how they had lost the money for the dress and invitations. The rest of her friends would have to face their own boyfriends and justify why they thought participating in that disaster and recording it was a good idea. That comment hit them. I saw it on their faces. 3 of them had serious partners, men who trusted them. Men who surely had no idea what had happened in Las Vegas. As soon as I mentioned those boyfriends, their faces transformed. Panic clouded their expressions. It wasn't surprise. It was real fear. Fear that the truth would destroy their lives too. "The storage key is the only thing you're going to get, Marissa," I said firmly, without raising my voice. "The rest is already settled." She swallowed hard, trying to regain control. "And my car. I need it to work." "Your car?" I replied. letting out a bitter laugh I had been holding back for hours. "Are you talking about the vehicle I bought? The one you were only helping to pay for? That car was never yours, and as of today, you will not drive it. If you want to discuss it, we'll do it with lawyers." She opened her eyes in a mixture of surprise and offense. "Lawyers? Are you really going to involve lawyers?" "Marissa," I replied, maintaining a calm tone, "you cheated on me 6 weeks before our wedding. Not once, several times, with different men on the same night. And everything was recorded in videos that anyone could see. Yes, I'm going to involve lawyers, and it will be to ensure that you don't try to claim anything that isn't yours." I said no more. I locked the door and heard the banging start immediately. Banging, shouting, pleading. 10 minutes of desperate insistence until they finally understood that I wouldn't open. Through the window, I watched them get into the car and drive away. Marissa was crying inconsolably in the passenger seat. Her friends maintained a heavy silence, like people attending the collapse of something they thought was solid. My dog came up to me and rested his head on my knee. I stroked him with a sad tranquility. "Just us, buddy. We'll get through this." Monday started earlier than expected. It was 6 a.m. when my phone vibrated. A name I deeply respected appeared on the screen. Edward, Marissa's father. Unlike Laura, his mother, impulsive, stubborn, and always trying to soften what shouldn't be softened, Edward was an upright man, a retired electrician, a tireless worker, very similar in character to my own father, Robert. He had always treated me with respect and closeness. He had even come to my shop the year before to help me fix an electrical problem. When I tried to pay him, he refused. "Family supports each other," he told me. I answered the call. "Adam, I've heard everything," he began in a weary voice. "Laura gave me her version, but I want yours." "Tell me something directly. Are the posts real?" "Yes, sir," I replied calmly. "If you want, I can send you screenshots or the links." There was a long sigh, as if he had been holding his breath for hours. "No need," he said sadly. "I already saw some of the videos on Instagram. I'm not going to justify what she did. It was wrong. Very wrong. But is there any possibility, however small, that you two can still move forward?" "No, sir, not anymore." "Don't apologize to me, son," he replied sincerely. "I'm the one who should apologize. I thought we raised Marissa with solid values. I thought she would know the difference between right and wrong. Clearly, I was wrong." There was an awkward silence before he asked, "What do we do about the dress and invitations?" "Do what you want," I said. "I won't ask for a refund." "You are not at fault for anything. You acted in good faith. You are more noble than she deserves right now." He paused deeply. "For what my opinion is worth, you were a good man to my daughter. You gave her stability, respect, affection. You treated us well, too. She chose to throw all that away for one night. That loss is hers, not yours." That phrase hit me harder than the end of the relationship. Edward was a good man. Hearing his sincere disappointment hurt more than any argument. But the chaos didn't end there. The consequences began to branch out like a fire. Laura did not stop calling me the following days. She went from begging me to reconsider to minimizing what happened, telling me it was normal for girls to have a little fun before getting married. "Men do those things too," she insisted. "Why can't women have their own wild bachelorette party? It was just a few kisses. You shouldn't take it so personally." After the third call, I stopped answering. On Tuesday, I sent the wedding cancellation emails. A simple message, no details. "Due to recent circumstances, the event on October 23rd is canceled. Thank you for your understanding." Several guests wrote to me asking what had happened. I sent them the links to the public posts. Most understood immediately. Some tried to justify Marissa with weak arguments. Vegas culture, pre-wedding nerves, everyone makes mistakes. I blocked those people too. Meanwhile, the posts began to affect Marissa's job. Her company, a fairly strict cosmetics brand, had firm policies on the public behavior of its employees. Recording videos kissing strangers, wearing a bride-to-be sash, and allowing everything to be exposed on social media was not exactly the corporate image they were looking for. I heard that HR summoned her on Tuesday morning. They gave her a formal warning and reminded her that her position involved coordinating events, interacting with influencers, and managing the brand's reputation. They clearly told her that a similar incident could cost her job, but the one who really took a hard hit was Selena. Her boyfriend, Mark, a dedicated, kind, and always respectful paramedic, saw all the content. Not just what concerned Marissa, but also the videos where Selena encouraged the situation, participated in similar scenes, and recorded everything as if it were a game. Mark sent me a message that same afternoon. "Thanks for letting me know about the cancellation. You opened my eyes. It's over." And he followed through. She tried to blame me publicly, but he replied, "You ruined it by acting like cheating was a joke. I'm not with someone who thinks Las Vegas is a free pass to be disrespectful." That message went viral among their circle of friends. 2 more girls had serious problems with their partners. One relationship managed to survive after long arguments. The other completely fell apart. What happened in Las Vegas had destroyed much more than my engagement. The group of friends who had been close for years fractured. There were arguments, shouting, accusations, blocking, distancing. That bond would never recover. On Wednesday morning, while working at the shop, I saw a familiar car park through the security camera. It was Marissa. I immediately called David. "She's here," I told him. "I need backup. I'm on my way. Give me 10 minutes. When David arrived, we went out together. Marissa was in Laura's old Civic, crying. Seeing us, she slowly got out of the car and wiped her tears with her sleeve. "Adam, please, can we talk without an audience?" "No," I replied firmly. "Whatever you have to say it here with witnesses." She pressed her lips together. "This is humiliating." "Humiliating?" I repeated calmly. Humiliating was everyone seeing my fiancé, well, ex-fiancé, kissing strangers. Humiliating was finding out on social media. This is just a conversation. She took a deep breath and continued. "I made a mistake, a huge mistake. I got carried away. The atmosphere, the adrenaline. Vegas makes people lose their minds. I didn't want you to know any of it." "Ah, I see," I replied with controlled sarcasm. "You wanted to cheat on me, but without me finding out. Much more comforting." Marissa looked down. "I wasn't thinking. Selena insisted I should relax, that it was my last chance to be free before getting married. I didn't know how many more times I was going to hear the same excuse disguised as repentance." Marissa kept repeating that her friends had encouraged her to enjoy the male attention one last time before getting married, as if I didn't know that no one forced her to do anything. Selena didn't force her to kiss those guys. The drinks didn't push her towards them, and the atmosphere didn't drag her into it. Everything that happened was the product of her own decisions, repeated over and over, while wearing a sash that announced she was about to get married. And the worst part is, I had chosen her. I had said yes to marriage. I had bet on a future together. David let out an ironic laugh from the side. "Quite a way to show it," he muttered, not bothering to hide the obvious. Marissa gave him a furious look, but immediately turned back to me with tears running down her cheeks and trembling hands. "Adam, please, I'll do anything. We can go to therapy. I can fix this, I promise. I'll delete all my social media, everything. Just give me another chance." I calmly shook my head, although inside I felt a knot that had been tightening for days. "There is nothing to fix, Marissa. It wasn't an impulsive mistake. You did it publicly several times, and your friends recorded it as if it were something admirable, and yet you're surprised there are consequences. So that's it? 3 years together, and you're throwing everything away without even trying to forgive me?" "You ended everything when you kissed the first guy," I replied, "and the second. And every time you chose to behave that way instead of respecting our relationship, I'm just accepting reality and taking care of myself." She tried to approach, but I took a step back. "No," I said firmly. She gasped sharply, as if remembering something critical. And my car. I need it to work. You know I can't buy one and my credit is horrible." "That car is mine," I replied without softening anything. "I allowed you to use it in exchange for the payments you made. That agreement is over." You're going to take it away from me, and how am I supposed to get to work? That's not my problem. You could have thought about that before destroying your relationship with the person who was helping you. Her voice rose several tones. You want me to take the bus? To pay for Uber every day? Do you know how much that costs? Again, it's not my problem. Do what other adults do. Save, buy something affordable, carpool with someone, whatever, but it's no longer my concern. This is financial abuse, she cried desperately. David burst out laughing. It's called natural consequences. Look it up online if you want. Marissa muttered something inaudible as she headed for the borrowed car she had arrived in. She struggled to even find the keys because her hands were shaking. You're going to regret this when you're alone, she warned. You'll realize what you lost. I didn't lose anything, Marissa, I replied with absolute serenity. You lost everything in Las Vegas, surrounded by strangers and with a camera recording everything. The only thing I did was make the smart decision and put an end to something that was beyond repair. She drove away with a screech of tires that echoed throughout the neighborhood. David and I went back inside the house. She's going to try to make your life difficult before she accepts that this is over, he predicted. I know, I replied, but I have everything documented. She is not listed in any of my assets. She cannot prove economic dependency or cohabitation rights. Legally, I am fully covered. And I was right. Thursday brought the first move. A letter from a family lawyer Marissa had hired, surely recommended by her parents. The document demanded continued access to the marital residence, which it never was, retention of the shared vehicle, reimbursement for her contributions to wedding expenses, and compensation for emotional distress. I took it to my lawyer, Mr. Reed, the same one my father, Robert, had used for his will. Mr. Reed read it twice and let out a laugh that filled his office. She has no right to anything. You were never married. There is no marital estate. The house predates the relationship and is only in your name. You pay the mortgage. The car is also only in your name. She was only making payments for using it, nothing more. And the emotional distress? After what she did, her lawyer is stretching the law so far he's going to dislocate something. Mr. Reed drafted an impeccable response, detailing the house purchase date, exclusive ownership, financial responsibility, the car's origin, the voluntary nature of Marissa's payments, and attached screenshots of her posts and videos as evidence of why the wedding was canceled and who was responsible. We never received another letter from that firm. Either Marissa couldn't afford to pay anymore, or the lawyer understood it was a lost cause. But that didn't mean she was finished. On Friday afternoon, she reappeared at my door, this time accompanied by Laura and her sister Sophia. The three of them lined up on my porch like an improvised intervention committee, ready to try one last maneuver. I did exactly what I had decided from the beginning. I didn't open the door. I limited myself to speaking through the doorbell camera so everything would be recorded. They didn't waste time getting into that concerned family members who have come to correct the supposedly irrational man attitude. Adam, please, be reasonable, Laura began with that saccharine tone parents use when trying to manipulate someone. Marissa made a mistake, but this is too much. She needs a place to stay. She's suffering. She's my daughter. Then can she stay with you, Laura? I replied without altering my voice. Our house is not prepared for that. We don't have space. That sounds more like a problem you and Marissa will have to solve together. At that moment, Sophia intervened, trying to load the conversation with guilt. You're being cruel. She has nowhere to go. She's sleeping on her parents' couch like she's 15. Does it not bother you what you're doing? No, I replied. She had a place to live here with me in a relationship she destroyed with her own decisions. Actions have consequences. I didn't provoke any of this. She did. Laura quickly changed strategy. And the car thing is simply malicious punishment. How is she supposed to get to work if she doesn't have a reliable vehicle? She could lose her job. She is an adult with a job and income. She can solve it like any other person. She can buy a car, use public transport, carpool with someone, whatever, but it's no longer my responsibility to fix her life. Marissa finally spoke. Her voice sounded muffled, broken. I already apologized. What more do you want from me? Nothing, I replied firmly. That's exactly the point. I want absolutely nothing. So 3 years mean nothing? You're going to throw everything away? Marissa. We didn't build anything together. I already had my house and my business before meeting you. You lived in them. Being present is not the same as building something. Through the camera, I could see her face crumbling as Laura dramatically hugged her in comfort. You're going to regret this, Laura said in a harsher tone, when you're alone and realize what you lost. I lost a fiancé who cheated on me in Las Vegas and allowed her friends to record it to upload to social media. I am completely at peace with that loss. Better to lose the hour than lose more after marriage, when it would be much more expensive emotionally and financially. I ended the call and silenced the doorbell notification. They stayed outside for about 5 more minutes. I watched them on the camera, talking among themselves, probably planning some other attempt. Finally, they left. Marissa was leaning on her mother as if she couldn't stand up. 2 weeks after that disaster in Las Vegas, I found out through mutual friends how her life was going. She had moved back to her parents' house. Laura had converted her small office into an improvised bedroom, but the space was minimal, and everyone was irritated by the lack of comfort. Most of the things Marissa had in our house couldn't fit into her parents' place, so she ended up storing almost everything in a storage unit. She went from living for 3 years with her own space and comfort to being locked in a tiny room surrounded by stacked boxes. The car issue became her biggest daily problem. She tried to buy a used one, but her credit was still so bad that she couldn't get approved for anything decent. The only offer she got was for an old sedan with 22% interest and over 90,000 TL. That meant paying double the vehicle's real value over the life of the loan. She couldn't afford to buy one outright, so she depended on Laura's car and ride-sharing services when her mother needed the vehicle. The Uber bills were draining her pocket. What she lost in wedding deposits was not negligible either. Her parents had paid nearly $2,000 for the dress and alterations, plus another $800 for custom-made invitations. Now that money was wasted, and apparently, they reminded her daily at every meal. From there, Marissa's social situation became chaos. The circle that once seemed so solid began to crumble, piece by piece. The breakup between Mark and Selena was the first clear sign. As soon as he ended things with her, the others began to distance themselves, each trying to wash their hands of what happened in Las Vegas. No one wanted to be associated with responsibility for the disaster, so the entire group ended up fracturing. Internal arguments multiplied, cross-blame, and uncomfortable silences that ended up breaking what little friendship remained between them. From one day to the next, they stopped making plans. Group outings were canceled without notice, and the chat they had used for years came to a complete halt. It wasn't one big fight that separated them. It was the accumulation of discomfort and the collective inability to own up to what they had caused. Meanwhile, Marissa tried several times to regain contact with me. In late October and early November, she received the same response as always. None. Messages appeared from strange numbers. Audios sent from phones of people I didn't even know, and even a handwritten letter that a stranger left at my shop's reception. The content was essentially identical, that she regretted it, that it had been a monumental mistake, that she had changed, that we needed to talk to rebuild what was ours. I didn't answer anything. I didn't then, and I won't later. There are wounds that are not closed with repeated words, no matter how emotional they sound. Betrayal, especially when it becomes public, is not covered by improvised apologies or dramatic gestures. Trust, once broken, is never the same. And above all, I was not going to take the role of anyone's emotional lifesaver. It wasn't an option to become the alternative plan for someone who only looked back after everything else failed them. My life continued without her. And I discovered that the tranquility I have now is infinitely more valuable than the idea of trying to recover something that ceased to exist long ago.